Alright, if you're watching this, then you own or are thinking about owning a micro subcompact pistol. There's your shields, your Glock 43s, your the p365, which is the one I'm going to be talking about. There's some Rugers, there's some XDs, there's some cars. There's not a lot of these guns, and if you're looking for one, it's for a specific reason. It's not because you're thinking about another type of a gun. You want something as small as you can get it, so that you can wear it as comfortably as you can in all environments without standing out like some open carry douche. And you want to be able to wear it all the time, because there's no point in wearing a handgun if you're not going to, unless you're going to wear it all the time. You can't predict when you're going to need it, and so you have to always have it. And so if you're looking at this video, you've considered the p365. I bought the p365, and without going into a bunch of other random tangents, which I tend to do, I've owned a lot of the different guns, and I've gone back and forth between your Glock 19 because it has more capacity, or your little shields because it's comfortable to wear. And I decided the small ones are better because I wear them all the time. The Glock 19 I didn't wear as often. And so I found the p365, and it was like the perfect thing. It's like, wow, it's small, has night sights, and it has high capacity. I mean, that's a no-brainer. And you got to give it to SIG. You got to admit, whether you're a Glock guy or whatever, you got to admit that's pretty impressive, and it's smaller than the others and has higher capacity. It seems like a no-brainer. So why is SIG P365 got so much controversy then? Why is not everyone running out and buying it? Well, initially they had, I guess, some sights. It was a brand new model gun, which anytime something's brand new, it's probably a good idea to wait and see how it does, which people did. The things that they were finding were from your big YouTube channels and your online forums and stuff, that there was a spring rubbing on the mag, fatigue in the spring, and it could cause trigger failure. And some sights were failing, going dark, I guess, on the night sights. And people riding the slides because it's a micro pistol and they don't know how to shoot it. They're hitting the slide catch, slide release on there. And then the big one is primer drag. So the striker's hitting these things, and it's cycling so fast, it's dragging, and they're saying it's gonna jack up your strikers, which in cases it did. And so SIG kind of brought it back in, and people complained they're beta testing on us, and they got all butthurt over that. They don't want to. Who's ever heard the term beta testing before this? And anytime someone says that in a forum, I'm like, you're regurgitating. The internet is famous for the whisper game, basically. You start something and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like Donald Trump's a racist, and hands up, don't shoot. Things that are baseless to begin with become massive and huge. Or not baseless, but there's a little bit of something, and then it becomes big, and people that don't think for themselves, they just eat it up and run with it and spread it. And that's what's happened with the p365. People love to get on there and be like, I'm one of the guys in the know, I'm one of the cool guys that know this is why you don't get it, you can't trust it. Well, SIG admitted that there was some poor mimed strikers, which, you know, they supposedly replaced and updated. And even in the event that you got one of the earlier guns, send it in and they fix it for you. And the newer guns, they say, are good to go. The spring's been shortened, and the strikers have a better MIM process. And you've still got some striker drag, which supposedly happens in all these little subcompacts. And anyway, I want to get to the point here. I don't want to make this too long. The big topic to me with reliability is the gun has been fixed, and that's what they say. If not, if you got an old one or whatever, send it to SIG and they'll fix it. If while you're shooting it breaks, fix it. They'll fix it. It's a mechanical thing. They all break, and they can all be fixed. But the bigger thing, and to the point, is people are saying, I can't carry this gun because I can't trust it. I can't trust this with my life or the life of my loved ones. I'm not going to carry it. And to me, that's just, it makes no sense to say something that just baseless, essentially, paranoid, or I guess probably the bigger percentage than the average population of people that carry guns tend to be a little more paranoid, and I do too. You're always looking over your shoulder, and where's the threat, where's the perceived imaginary bad guys, and it's the way you think, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it leaves us more susceptible to paranoia, and like, oh, this thing's gonna break when I need it most, I'm buying something else. and that thing's going to be guaranteed to work. So just let me make a quick illustration that made sense to me. I drew this circle. This circle will represent your life. And pretend like this skinny little line. There's a little line. I'm not going to go through and do it. There's lines all around this circle. Each little line represents a day in your life. So there's a lot of lines in there. And assuming you carry this pistol 100% of the time, you've got this gun on you all throughout your days of your life. And this circle will represent your use of a lethal force situation. Let's say this little tiny line represents that happening, which is very, very, very unlikely. Do you know anybody that's shot anybody? Even in, there's guys that go their whole police careers and they're actively pursuing and seeking out altercations and bad guys. And most of them will never draw and shoot a person. And so in your own private life, most gun deaths are, suicides, gang-on-gang violence. But a lethal force situation from just a average person walking around, and there's more people susceptible in other areas, but the average person in America, in an average, relatively safe place, is never going to have this happen. But I'll give it that. Let's say that little time happens. That represents in your life probably a 5-second pop, 5 to 10 seconds. It's seconds of a time occurring, if ever. So let's say that does happen. Number one, you have a lot of control over this not happening. As a handgun carrier, it's a big responsibility, and your number one job is to avoid any confrontation, any use of that. Deadly force is a serious thing. You don't want to go to jail. You don't want to spend up all your money trying to defend yourself, and you don't want to take another life. It's not something you want to do. You literally carry that for the worst case scenario where you've done everything to avoid conflict, but somehow, some unfortunate way, it's on you and it's happening, and you're gonna die, or someone you know is gonna die. It's not you're gonna get offended or beat up. You're gonna die. You fear for your life or life of someone else, and that person is gonna cause that to you. That's only you don't brandish it. You don't make threats with it. You draw that out. That little second represents something you at all costs want to avoid. And if by some crazy chance that happens, that little skinny line right there. And so we'll call this the deadly force occurrence. Let's get another circle here, and we'll say this is your handgun. And let's say there's a bunch of lines around here. Each one of those represents a squeeze of that trigger, a fired round. First of all, you got to consider how many rounds you're firing. In a micro pocket pistol, this is not a bullet hose, high capacity machine gun. I mean, you see people trying to get views and brag on the internet. I've shot thousands and thousands of rounds for mine. Unless it's a rental gun or something, what are you doing just mag dumping on targets with this gun? That's not the purpose of this gun. Excuse me. I just drank a Rockstar. Anyway, you train with it to become proficient with it, and then you carry it, and you consider scenarios, you consider unconventional shooting positions, you consider avoidance of conflict. Anyway, it's not just a mag dump. I'm going to test it and see when it breaks. What's the purpose in you buying this thing? So become proficient with it, try to avoid conflict, and carry it with you all the time. That's why these little ones are popular. You're going to have it with you, which is the most important thing. So each one of these trigger pulls represents training and practice. That's when you're shooting it. The only time you're shooting this thing is practice. It's not a plinking or fun gun. It's a serious tool. So during practice, if this line will represent a failure of that gun, a striker breaking, for example. Let's say while you're shooting, in practice that happens. It sucks that happened, but you're going to get it fixed, you're going to get it back, and the gun's going to work again. And that's when this is likely to happen. If at all, that's when it's going to happen. And like I said, it sucks, but it's a mechanical thing. They fail. You'll get it fixed, move on. So these people are like, I won't carry it because I don't trust it. Let's consider these two unlikely, very, very unlikely events. Let's overlay them and spin it like a dang dial, and they're spinning. What's the chance of this and this happening at the exact same time? If you sit and consider everything I've said in those it's next to impossible. So all these people talking about, oh, my striker fell. It's like, you should worry about a lightning strike or car crash or your eating habits. There's a number of things that are much more likely to happen to you than this and this magically happening. It'd be like that Final Destination movie, man. It's just your time if that happens. So basically, without talking anymore, it's a fantastic gun that set a new standard. It's got patented magazines, I guess, so I hope the other gun companies can do more than Glock did, which is just, let's make the grip longer and stuff a few more rounds in. You haven't done anything. You're making the gun bigger. You don't want it smaller either, because the SIG is the perfect size. It's easy to shoot. It has great capacity, and people would argue, I don't need that many rounds. Man, it's got twice the rounds of the Glock with the 12-round mag. And when you are in a shooting, it's not like on TV, boom, you're down. You hear the media, why do they have to shoot him so many times? It's because you shoot until that threat stops. It's pop, 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 pop. The more rounds, the better. It's better to have them and not need them than need them and not have them. So this gun, to me, I'm excited about it. I carry it all the time. It's got the capacity, the comfort, I trust it. Absolutely. If that event ever happens, it's going to do what it needs.